Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
The opening round in Spielberg and Atlanta set the tone for the season, but the question is, with this new dynamic, has anyone already learned to adapt? A big difference from last week will be we now get a direct comparison with both series running the same circuit. Let's see what sort of knowledge is revealed as we get ready to watch round 2 of the PRL GT series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Hockenheim will fit in well with these GT4 cars. To show our audience what the amateur class is up against, let's head to our track guide. Welcome to Hockenheim. Located just an hour away from the border of France, this is a German track whose nature has changed drastically over its history. Once an eye-watering blast through long straights in the forest, it has since been truncated to its current format. With 6 different layouts ranging between 2.5 and 4.5 kilometers, containing 13 to 16 turns, depending on which you choose, it's got something for just about every level of racing. This means it would fit everything from club cars up to Formula One. And that's perhaps what it's most well known for. One of the regular hosts for the German Grand Prix, it has been the scene of multiple dramatic moments, some triumphant, some tragic. Its redesign in the early 2000s gave it a few well-placed overtaking spots. The Parabolica entrance can create a good sneak attack, but even if you don't get it done there, the huge run towards the tight and slow Spitz curve is the place most well known for overtakes. If neither of those work, on rare occasions, Mercedes Corner can see drivers manage to pass one another. While the straights certainly aren't as long as the old version, it still requires a good deal of top speed to be competitive. But driver beware. Throttle control can often make or break your lap on the latter half of the circuit. All in all, German race fans can be assured to find great action no matter your tastes in racing at this fantastic venue. DJ, this track has been around quite some time, even in its current format, but it's a new one here for iRacing. So why don't you run us down how you think it's going to go, at least with these GT4s?
Well, Joe, with these GT4s, there are plenty of good overtaking opportunities, and there's also a couple of areas that drivers are going to have to be very, very careful for. Now, those areas they're going to have to watch out for, well, that's the Nord curve and the penultimate corner. Both of those corners are pretty flat out, and in these GT4s, with not a lot of aerodynamic grip pushing them down onto the track, they're going to have to be careful. We've seen a lot of drivers having problems with that in the practice session. But as for the overtaking, well, the obvious place to do it is the Spitzkehre, the long run down to that hairpin at the end of the longest straight on the track. But as we've seen in other GT series, there's always good overtaking opportunities going down into the Mercedes-Benz arena, and we've seen some very aggressive moves be pulled off into the Mobil 1 curve. So plenty of opportunities to not only fight, but to fight back for these drivers. And I have to say, if last week was any indication, I think we are in for a real cracker of a race here today.
No doubt about that. Before we get to the race, let's talk about our sponsors, though, because our broadcast is brought to you by ASR. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
It's also sponsored by RaceLab. RaceLab helps improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can always get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com.
Today's event is also brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring everyone together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. Find out how you can bridge the gap between the virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net.
And finally, the PRL GT Series is also brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. Now, let's track the championship here real quick as we take a look at the GT4 AM points, and Robbie Campbell up at the top step currently, with Bergquist behind by 5 points. And it gets pretty tight down lower. Robertson, Michaud, and London all essentially separated by 2 points between each of those three at the bottom of the top 5. What about the team's championship so far here, DJ?
Well, Joe, it's a bit of a different story there in the team's championship. As you can see, GT Moore has a 19-point lead over the rest of the field, but from there on out, it is very, very tight, with Piltdown's Punks 19 points back, PRL Director Team only a point back from them, Team Kodak Rhino 2 points back from third, and Parabola Racing only 2 points back from fourth. So GT Moore is going to be hoping to extend that gap a little bit, but very close from second all the way to fifth.
Certainly put themselves off to a good lead after one round. Now, let's see after round 2 how they fare, because today's race will be 40 minutes as always. And they have 3 different makes of cars that they are able to choose from that are all GT4 class. It's an open setup series. So even though these are somewhat more basic than what we would see, let's say, in GTE cars, there's still plenty that they can do to try and find some speed and comfort. The incidents at 10 will get them a drive through. 15 will disqualify them. And this is a modern F1 track, a lot of paved runoff, so could be a real issue as you see the bonus points that they can earn there at the very bottom of our graphic. They're just starting the qualifying right now and getting going. And it's a slightly warm day here in Germany at 99 degrees Fahrenheit, 37 Celsius. But look at the wind up there, 22 kilometers an hour. Wonder if that's going to affect them at all.
Well, I certainly think it could, Joe. You know, these are pretty big, boxy cars. As I said, they're not exactly aerodynamically perfect. So I think you could see some definite buffeting going on over the course of the lap. And there's going to be some corners drivers are going to have to watch out for. Maybe catch a little bit of a gust here and there and throw them off their game ever so slightly.
So as you can see, whoa, and New Hook's going to have to get back in and start a new lap. They don't get a lot of time now in this new format. It used to be 15 minutes that they had to try and set their quickest, but now it is only 10. Watching Kieran London digging this paint scheme, by the way, on the McLaren. Certainly looks like some of the camouflages that you'll see on the testing cars. Coming along one of the spots. Now, I'm curious, how much do you think it's going to be worth along this section through the Parabolica down into Spitzkura? Do you think qualifying will allow the draft to get somebody a little bit more normally would?
I think just a little bit, Joe. You know, the GT cars across the entire field that they have here on iRacing, the draft isn't nearly as important across the board, but I still think that little bit of edge could get you, especially if we see qualifying times as close as they were last time out.
We right on board with Michaud there in the 497, who we think is going to be the first to cross the line. Just double checking that, and it does look like that should be the case here. So as he comes through the Sachs curve in the stadium section, he's just following behind Robbie Campbell, our points leader currently. Both of them running in McLarens here. Out of the south curve and onto the main straight. Let's see what sort of marker he's able to set. And it's a 46.903. That's the time that everybody now has to aim for. Let's see if it'll be toppled quickly. London does not go quicker. Neither does Simkovic. Oh, but series organizer Spertome, he is faster by about 0.06 of a second.
All right, so there the gauntlet is getting thrown down. There you see Pavolano popping onto the field. Now this, I believe, is New Hook's out lap, so that's not going to count for him. We see Gagnon popping into the third place position right now. Let's see what Glenn Vanko has. He's driving for that top placed GT Moore team. That's a 49.7, but I don't think it's going to count.
Kyle Robertson here. I'm watching Bergquist as well. 48.6. for the 64 car, good enough for 7th. Robertson comes across, doesn't set a time. He had an off track somewhere around there. Already half the qualifying gone. If that gives you any idea how important it is that they get set a good one early. It looks like Burmeister is 11th after his first attempt, which is the slowest of those who have set a time. Gagnon, who is quick in the warm-up, is only 3rd right now, and he just exited the pits.
Yeah, clearly maybe wanted to make a quick little change on the setup. Maybe he came out in the wrong fuel setting, but we ride on board here with Robbie Campbell. This is one of the best corners in the world, Joe. The Sachs curve, lots of banking. You can carry a lot of speed through there, but you've got to be careful. You can't carry too much, just a hair or two over, and you will pull a Sebastian Vettel and go sliding out to the outside. There he comes through the last 3 corners. Ooh, caught a little bit of that sausage curve on the outside. That upset the car.
Yeah, he was really straddling that thing. Let's see if this one counts or not. And it does not. So the 93 with only 4.5 minutes left to go. Let's hope that he can get one down, or else he's going to be starting well down the order. Our provisional pole sitter does not go faster. Bertome slower by about 0.2. No, actually 1.2 seconds, I should say, than his first lap. So that one not very good at all. Pabiano is now in 9th after improving to a 48.996. What about New Hook?
New Hook's going to be able to come in with a 149.1. That's going to put him in 10th place right there. I see Scott Grinnell popping into 4th place. We ride on board with Jordan Walker. He's currently 11th with a 49.1. Let's see if he's able to improve that time. He's able to hit a 49 dead. That'll bump him up a spot as Charles Sumner goes into 8th place.
Looks like Bergquist goes to a 47.7. He'll take 4th place with that one. Robertson finally sets one, 47.7 as well. He'll slot into 5th, just about half a tenth behind Kevin. And we've got Burmeister in 17th. That lap did not count. We switched to Baron Hilton after that.
Barron's going to come across the line. I think that's either an out lap or a super slow lap. So we're going to do that. We're going to check out Francois Simard here as he comes around the final corners.
Still yet to set a time, and I'm not seeing even an off track for previous ones. So he's only just now completing a full lap, and it's still not going to count for him. Wow. He's got essentially 2 laps to go, I believe, to try and put one on the board. What about Michaud? Can he go that half-tenth faster to snatch the pole away from Bertome? No, not this time by.
A lot of these drivers having trouble putting down some green times there, but that's not happening to Kieran London. Oh, but that time has been deleted for him. Jerome Bethune unable to improve once again, so that's not going to go well. Robert Land looks like an out lap potentially for him, but let's see what his time is as he crosses over here. Not seeing an improvement there for Land.
Fabolano up next and also fails to set a competitive time. Looks like Newhook will go slightly faster into 13th. What about Grinnell? He'll notch it down to about a 51.7, half a second faster. That'll put him into 18th.
Still waiting on a couple of drivers here to be able to put a good time down. This, I believe, is Sumner coming across the line. Not a good lap for him, but he will be able to start a new flyer here. Kyle Robertson currently 6th. Not a good lap, but he'll have enough time to get one more in if he needs it.
Yeah, the 2 drivers that still need a time are Simard and Oliveira. And I think Simard is just coming into the stadium section now. So the 23, who in practice was, looks like down in about 15th or so place, it appears, is still looking to try and get himself something representative. 1 minute left to go. So if this one does not count, gets one last shot at it. One of the few BMWs that we have on the track. The 23 crosses the line. It'll be a 50.0. That'll put him in a 17th.
All right, so we're still just waiting on Oliveira and Janae to set times. Now we follow back to Michaud. Let's see if he's able to get that time. Still not able to do it. He's going to have one more bite at the apple. Here comes Kieran London. Does he have it? Able to improve by about a 1/10 of a second, and that's not going to move him up the order at all, though.
Last round's winner doesn't set a time that time, so we look to Land in the 14. And as he crosses a 48.2, nice improvement, cracks into the top 10 with that. Benoff, 49.7, and that will jump him to 17th as well. What about Newhook?
Newhook's able to improve a little bit there by a couple of 10ths of a second. He'll stay in 11th, though. Here comes Calhoun. That's a slow lap for him. He'll be one of the last ones to get a new crack at the apple. Grinnell unable to improve. Oliveira able to put a time in, so that was one of the ones that we were waiting for. Sumner not able to improve his time, but he'll be the last one to get a new lap.
A lot of drivers just coming towards the checkered flag have abandoned their final lap, not happy with them. Everybody at least has a time on the board. Burmeister is going to be the first to actually take the checkered flag in qualifying. He's got a 52 flat for his quickest, and it'll be a 51.9, improving by about a 10th, but he does not go any higher on the board. Hilton up next, a 49.7, almost a full second faster. He goes up to 18th.
Next up is going to be Simard, currently sat back in 20th right now, comes through the Sud curve as he works his way around in that BMW. One of 2 drivers favoring that machine here today, coming across the line. This looks like it could be good. It is a improvement of about 9/10 of a second. That'll bump him up to 17th.
What about last round's winner, Robbie Campbell, coming down into the south curve? He's got to make up half a second if he wants the pole this time. Let's see if the McLaren's quick enough for that. And it's going to be close as he approaches a 46.9. Oh, but he's still in third. He's back by about a 1/10 and a half.
Well, as we said, there's going to be plenty of opportunity to overtake on this track, more than likely. But we're going to follow here Peter Newhook, as it looks like Newhook's going to come into the pits, abandoning that lap.
Calhoun's behind him, and the 89 being followed as well by Oliveira, as the 89 car comes down and crosses a 48.1, not an improvement. Oliveira also doesn't have that one count. What about Walker in the 22 machine? Also can't find anything, unfortunately. Charles Sumner up next. No dice for him. So struggling late in this qualifying session. Many drivers seeming to be unable to improve. Burmeister will be the last of it.
He will indeed. A little bit off the apex there. Ooh, took a big chunk of the sausage curb, and he is going to come into the pits. So, Joe, that's going to wrap up our qualifying.
All right. So the seconds tick down. Temperatures have increased just a little bit here today. Not drastically, but hopefully it doesn't get too much hotter for our drivers. As you can see, up to 38 Celsius and 101 Fahrenheit. Also, again, a reminder, if you're here for the GT4 amateurs, don't forget we've got the GT3 pros coming up after this 40-minute race and at the same track compared to last week, in which we went to 2 different circuits. So this is going to be fun to watch to see how the 2 of them compare at the exact same venue. Your starting order for today has Jerome Bertome coming in and claiming pole over Michael Michaud in second. Then you've got Robbie Campbell in P3 with Michel Gagnon in fourth. Kevin Berquist will be P5. You've got Kyle Robertson on his outside, David Calhoun to the inside of the next row, and Spencer Simkovich off to his right side. Piotr Margula will be ninth, and Robert Land will round out your top 10.
Peter Newhook will be starting off 11th, followed by Kieran London. Charles Sumner will be 13th, followed by Michael Padalano. They're in 14th with Marco Oliveira in 15th and Jordan Walker in 16th. Row 9 is going to be Francois Simard and Glenn Vanko. And behind them in row 10, it's Baron Hilton and Andrew Bennick.
Scott Grinnell and Jason Burmeister round out the 22-car field that are going to be starting today. Rolling start as usual here in the GT cars for the PRL GT 4 AM series. Hockenheimring, as we mentioned, relatively new here on iRacing. And last time we saw the GT3 AM series come here, not the GT4 AM series. It was a little bit chaotic. DJ, do you think it's going to be cleaned up this time around?
Well, I'm not sure, Joe. You know, this track has a penchant for throwing up some pretty crazy moves. We've seen some good fight backs going from the Spitzkara down into the Mobile One Arena, side-by-side action all the way across. And especially with track temperatures as hot as they are, I think we're really going to have to watch out for what happens in that first corner. It's very, very slippery, and we could see a car or two slide off.
Okay. Short pace lap just before the stadium section, and then we run along the way down towards the start finish line. But the pace car will peel in relatively early. We'll see if Bertome decides to try and take off pretty quickly, or will he check them up? 217 also running in the McLaren. In fact, the first Porsche starts down in fourth with Gagnon in that car. There goes the Porsche pace car. Bertome waiting on it and hanging back quite a bit. Michaud is giving him a lot of space. The green flag is out, and it seems to bite him because he's already having a challenge to the inside with Robbie Campbell. No, he's going to back out by the time they come up to the north curve. Very single file, in fact, through most of the field.
Oh, we do have a spinner in the back. I believe that is Bennig, who had a big off on the main straightaway. But our leaders here are being very, very calm and collected as they get into the Einfahrt Parabolica.
So down through turn 2 and now into the Parabolica itself. Once again, still very single file. Robert Land, though, off track in the Parabolica. And I think he spun himself out there. He's going to take a tow. We'll try and get back to that later, potentially. In the meantime, the Spitzkara, for the first time, where everybody starts to accordion back together. Not seeing any attempts except way far back where we get a little bit of 3 wide. I think that's down for 15th.
Yeah, that looked like Simard trying to make that 3 wide if he could. Not as much, though. Here you can see that run coming out of Michaud. A very, very good run going down to that Mercedes-Benz Arena. A little bit more of an aggressive attack, trying to get it. It looks like he's a little bit better at corner entry, definitely putting the pressure to Bertome.
We got a fight early on. up into the stadium section. Not as strong into the corner. Michaud starts to fall back. Campbell sizing him up. I see Newhook, another one who's taken a tow. Not sure what happened to him. I missed that incident, but he seems to have run into trouble. And our Porsche up at the front spins. Gagnon is around in the Sachs curve.
Oh no, the Porsche up at the top having that big problem, just losing it in the Sachs curve, but we're going to keep focused on this battle for the front. Looks like Bertom's able to get a little bit of breathing room here, and it's Campbell now that's on the assault trying to get Michaud.
Our highest Porsche now, or honestly, even our highest non-McLaren, is Kyle Robertson in the 15. He's in P5. We're riding from his perspective. You can see he's got some ground to make up to those ahead of him. That's Bergqvist.
Indeed, that's Bergqvist, and you can see that leading pack ahead. A little bit of a check up there for Robertson. I think he didn't quite expect Bergqvist to have quite as much of a slowdown. But, oh, we've got a fight here. This could be a move for Campbell.
It's right up behind him. Is this slipstream going to help enough? He's not poking his nose out yet. They hit the Spitz curve. And no, he is going to just stay in line. Doesn't like his chances quite yet. Of the two that I mentioned on lap 1 that had issues, Newhook and Land are still sitting in pit lane trying to take repairs. So it looks like it was relatively big damage. And Spencer Semkovich goes off in the Spitzkara as well.
Yeah, a lot of drivers really struggling here early on. We're going to check the replay here to see what happened to Semkovich. Ooh, it looks like he tried to get onto the brakes on the curbs. I'm not sure who that was that got into him, but that just spun Spencer right around.
Yeah, Margula came in way hot, unfortunately, and as he tried to turn into the apex, eventually he ran out of track, and the Porsche was in his way. There's another look at it. So hopefully he didn't hit the suspension, because that was a good thwack.
Yeah, very much. As Spencer's able to continue on in 12th, though, looks like he's relatively okay. I'm not seeing any major handling issues at the moment, but we'll keep an eye on that and let you know.
Let's go back to the front because Michaud was getting right underneath Bertome for a second. Campbell instead has clawed back the gap to the 497 as they bounce over that first curve to the inside of the north curve. We're going to watch from Robbie's perspective, just trailing behind that orange and black McLaren.
It really seems like here, Joe, that Michaud has some advantage in the first and second sectors, and then Bertome is able to just pull it out in the third sector, and Michaud doesn't really have an answer. Looks like Campbell's losing some ground here, though, coming down through the Parabolica. Maybe Michel's got a run here. He's going to poke his nose to the inside.
Covering him off, it looks like Bertome's having none of it. Both of them taking a very shallow entry. Could this be a shot for Campbell? He gets a good exit. I don't know if it's enough of a run down to Mercedes for him to attack Michael here.
No, I think these cars are just a hair too underpowered to really get that move to go. Good under braking there, though. A little bit squirrely for Michaud. He's able to gather it back up. Now, this is an area where we've seen Bertome struggle a little bit. Big chunk of curb for Michaud. That's going to hurt him a little bit. Cars space out here as they line up for the Mobil 1 curve.
Any little mistake could cost these three. They're pulling away from fourth place Bergqvist by about a second and a half. So they're not completely cut off from the rest of the field, but they have been stretching it, clearly pushing one another with the way that we see them running hard here up at the front out of the south curve. Let's see if anybody can get a better exit onto the main straight.
Ooh, Michaud took a bit of an odd line there. I thought it may have helped him try to get a little bit more exit speed, but it really didn't. Campbell had a problem too, as Bertome sets the fastest lap of the race, able to pull that gap out to about 0.7 of a second. Now, he's struggled here in the beginning of the Parabolica, so let's see if that happens again and if it gives some room back to Michaud.
Called it orange before, but I suppose being a McLaren, that's a papaya and black machine there in the 497. They come through the Parabolica. Let's not forget about farther back where we've got some good battles. This is for 7th place. We ride with Kieran London chasing Oliveira.
Yeah, and London had a really good run going through the Nord curve and just kind of had to back off a little bit going into the Parabolica entry. So not exactly what he wants to do. Let's see how he does under braking, able to really close up there. Obviously a little bit of the concertina effect, but definitely gaining some time.
I find it interesting that our former fourth place driver, Gagnon, set the fastest lap last time by. He's still down in 17th. I wonder if he can use that pace to try and at least get back up in the top 10, maybe top 5. We'll have to watch and see. But we continue to watch from London's perspective. He might not see France right now, but he certainly sees the rear of Marco.
Does indeed. Overtaking proving to be a little bit difficult around here, Joe. Ooh, Oliveira running a little bit wide there. They go into the Sachs curve right now, trying to use that banking to get some speed. Looks like he's able to catch up a little bit, but not enough to affect a pass.
Yeah, it does appear to be a little bit tough in these cars to get those overtakes done. Another fastest lap for Michaud in the meantime. So he steals that back from Gagnon, a 47.361 for down to 0.3 of a second, up to Jerome, closing in under braking. If he could get the launch here, it's not looking that great.
No, I think he took a little bit of a narrow line into the apex there, caught a little bit of the entry curbing, and that cost him just a couple of tenths of a second. Gap's hovering at about 0.33 seconds right now, gaining a little bit in the draft, but not enough to make it. He's still going to poke his nose to the inside. Maybe a late move here. Oh, latest of the late breakers is Michaud. He's going for it.
Didn't think he'd be able to do that, but he kept it safe. He got pinched a little bit on the exit, and that might allow Jerome to successfully defend here into Mercedes. Outside of the first car, works a lot better than he would have thought. Oh no, and he's gonna get hit down into the wall with a hard smash, and that was from the car of Campbell. Unfortunately, going into the back of him, Michaud will inherit the lead.
Oh no, an absolute heartbreak there for Baton. Let's watch this again, Joe. This is exactly what I was talking about in the side-by-side, back and forth action that we see coming into this section now. As you said, able to carry more speed going into this arena section. And then right here, I just don't think Campbell anticipated exactly the gap. Big whap into the wall for Baton.
So let's see, where did he come back? Oh, well, he's struggling. He just went off course again. He's in 8th now. I think he has just a little too much damage to be able to drive it home, which is sad because he was very close to the pits. What kind of damage does Campbell have? Because don't forget, he really got into the back of that McLaren.
Yeah, he certainly did. Taking a look, I'm not seeing a whole lot of damage. A little bit squirrely there. That could be an indicator, but all of that squabbling has allowed for Bergquist to catch up to his tail and Robertson behind him. So if Campbell is suffering a little bit, those two drivers will be ready to pounce.
Yeah, they had fallen to about 2.5 seconds behind, so Bergquist, Robertson now a part of the equation for them. They get about a 2-second gap back to 5th place Calhoun. Everybody essentially behind the lead, getting promoted up 1 position from that issue. And a little bit of a look to the inside of Bergquist. Robertson fancied his chances, but the Porsche unable to make it to stick.
Yeah, not really getting it in there quite yet, but we still have about 30 minutes left to go in this race, so Robertson just needs to have a little bit of patience. Great camera angle as they work their way through the Mercedes-Benz section. Doesn't look like there's too much damage to that car from Campbell. He's able to keep that gap to Michaud relatively close, under a second up in front of him.
Yeah, looks like Dougie's been experimenting with some drones there, getting some very cool following shots of these cars down into the Mercedes arena. Look at how wide Campbell has been taking some of these corners. He can get an off track if he's not careful, or worse, if he clips that gravel. I've seen cars smash into the right-hand side wall too many times.
Yeah, it is not out of the realm of possibility. And remember, with the lower incident points, we saw it a couple of times last week across the PRL series, specifically in the GT3 Pro Series, drivers getting that disqualification. So they've got to be very, very careful not to run afoul of the stewards in this.
Background, if you saw a BMW going a little wide off of the south curve, that was David Calhoun highest place BMW on the track right now. The only other one is Simard sitting in 13th. Actually, now that I look at him, things get a little close between Gagnon and Baron Hilton. This is for 14th place. Remember, Michel is on a recovery drive. Oh, but he had a big bit of wheel spin coming off of the north curve. We didn't see it on our screen, but that hampered him a little bit as our leaders come down into the Spitzkehre.
Yeah, diving down there, and I can report that Gagnon was able to get by Hilton going into the start of the Parabolica, keeping focus. There we go. There's the side-by-side. They're still battling this out. This is a battle of Germany versus the UK here. McLaren versus Porsche. I thought Gagnon had this, but Hilton fighting back very hard. It's going to have to be late on the brakes. Gagnon goes in deep, able to get the car slowed down, and he's got it.
Very wide there for Hilton as well as he clatters over the tall curb. Yeah, if it was the McLaren F1, you'd be right, because that had a BMW engine in it, so it'd be partly German.
Just trying to foster some international cooperation there. Wide angle there. I don't know what Hilton was thinking on that one.
Apparently missing his brake marker or something. Just did not make the corner in any shape or form. So that cost him some time. Gagnon now up to 14th, has 2 seconds to get to Simard in front of him. Still seeing a lot of drivers stuck nose to tail without opportunities to pass. One of our closest fights is between 6th and 7th, London and Oliveira, and we were watching them a little bit earlier.
Indeed we were, and this is McLaren versus McLaren. And as I said, Joe, you know, it's not necessarily as surprising that we're not really seeing a lot of draft-affected passes here. These cars are relatively low-powered. There's not a lot of aero wake coming off of them. They generate the majority of the grip on the mechanical side of the car, so it's not like the single-seaters where there's a big amount of aerodynamics pushing the air out of the way and being able to suck up behind in the draft.
Campbell's going for it once again, this time on Michaud on the inside through the Spitzkehre. He manages to hold to it. Last time we saw this happen, though, it came to tears into Mercedes. Will they be able to hold it together? Oh, he's going to get chopped off. Michael is not afraid.
No, he is not. A very aggressive move out of your leader, but Robbie able to recognize it coming. I think he lifted ever so slightly going into that section. Loses a little bit of ground here. The gap ballooning back out. Bergquist behind him, trying to reel him in, but not able to do it.
Cool. That happened fast. I'm not sure if Michael maybe got a bad exit out of the Parabolica entry or what, but suddenly the red and black 93 is all over the back of him.
Yeah, he is, and not letting up, braking hard here for the penultimate corner. You want to let that car run a little bit wide. Watch out for that sausage curve that we talked about, and into the Südkar right there. Trying to get it going. It looks like Michel able to get a little bit more of a better run, but Robbie not letting him go quietly.
This has been stuck at about 0.3 of a second. And again, talking about not afraid, look at how much he's clobbered that inside curb and kept control of it. Braking hard for the Parabolica entry. Is this where it started last time? Will it happen all over again? Campbell looks decent. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it looks like Michaud's just having a little bit problem right on the first part of that, but I think Robbie may have clipped a little bit too much curb, maybe picked up some wheel spin on the second part of that corner. Coming on strong, though. We've seen how late they can be. Big squirrel under braking for Michaud.
Lost him too much. He remains ahead. It's the acceleration coming off that he's got to worry about. Almost too shallow there for the 497. Is the 93 going to try and chuck one in? Is he going to be given the space for it? He thinks about it, but he's not brave enough to get the overlap.
No, I think that was a bit of a half-hearted move there for Robbie Campbell. Just wanted to kind of show his nose and see if he could force Michel off the line a little bit. Michel takes a narrower exit off of the Mercedes arena. They're going to come down into the Mobile 1 curve here. I don't recommend trying to get a pass done through the Sachs curve. I think Robbie's just going to have to be a little bit patient for another lap.
The only time I've seen those work is when someone gets truly mugged by someone who is a lot faster. And doesn't seem to be all that much faster, but he does seem to be competitive as he goes in deep into the first part of the Sud curve. Let's see if the second part helps him on the exit. Doesn't seem to be the case.
He's just exploiting as much of the track as he can there, running it as wide on both sides, entry and exit. Here they come out of the Nord curve right now. Coming up, let's watch Michaud. Let's see if he has this problem again through the first part of the start of the Parabolica.
Drop back a little bit. Oh, but he hits the apex much better. Way, way better than the orange and black 497. Now he's going to be right on top of him. He will definitely get the slipstream. Question is, which side is he going to have to go around? Is Michaud going to defend? Yes, he is. All the way down, covers him completely to the grass. Robbie gets it side by side. Oh, way too defensive, way too tight into the corner. Michael's not going to have an easy time getting this car to turn. It's a tight right-hander, and that causes him to suffer. Robbie's got the lead.
And I saw exactly what Michaud was trying to do there. He was actually trying to use those interior curves to get the car to rotate, but you hit the nail on the head, Joe. When you are running that narrow of an angle, there is really just no way to be able to get the power down without having the tires spin. Michaud, though, to his credit, fighting back through the Mercedes-Benz arena, he is not letting this go.
Win in the first round for the 93 car is setting himself up well for a repeat. All of them taking quite a bit of that exit into the AstroTurf, past the curb, but they make it stick. And how about Michaud here? Okay, this part of the track looking pretty handy for the 497. He closes back into the gearbox of Campbell, and he's going to make him work for it.
Yeah, he is. Campbell running very wide there on the exit of the Sud curve. That's going to give Michaud a little bit of hope. I don't think he's going to try to make the move into the Nord curve, and indeed he doesn't. Big chunk of curb there for both drivers. Robbie able to get a little bit of breathing room, but Michaud trying to fight back.
God, that 93 car just looks incredibly compliant as a surprise move from Michaud gets rebuffed. Robbie able to hold him behind. That may have cost him a better exit, unfortunately. And I think Pavolano is our first into the pits.
He is indeed coming in here on lap 10, just about halfway through this race. We've seen, though, time and time again that the overcut tends to work better, but here comes Michaud on a move very late onto the brakes, but overshoots the corner, and that allows Campbell to come right by, and Bergquist now may be into this.
Michael, very eager. That's a couple corners now. We've seen him chuck it in and basically hope that it sticks. Neither time did it, though, unfortunately. This is giving them, unfortunately, quite a close of gap to Bergquist and Robertson behind them. It's cut down to 0.5 of a second. We're going to watch from the fourth in the train, the bright blue 15 of Kyle Robertson.
And remember, this is your highest running Porsche right now, holding on to the back of this train of McLarens, working their way down through the Mobil 1 curve and into the Sachs curve. Everybody getting onto the binders. Looks like Campbell's able to get a little bit of a gap here, but we've seen how strong Michaud is through this final sector. Will he be able to close back up and make this competitive?
Halfway mark now as they come to the pits, and it looks like Michaud elects to split it in half here. He's the only of the three who ducks away. What will this do to this race? Will any of them now respond to him on the next lap? I'm not seeing anybody else behind them amongst the leaders pitting on this lap. No, I take that back. Looks like Margula coming in from 9th.
Well, all right, that's definitely going to give Robbie Campbell some breathing room, but I don't think Bergquist is going to have any from Kyle Robertson. He is very much up behind that gearbox. I can report, by the way, that Michaud has come to rest in the box. Everything looks good.
There was a 16.3 stop for the 101 car. Ooh, it's long for Michaud. Very long. Incredibly long. 21 seconds. Ooh, this is not looking good for the 497.
No, not at all. And I checked his speed coming in. It's not like he got a pit lane speed penalty or anything, so I'm not sure what happened there.
Okay, so He's back on the track. Was that too quick of a stop from Pavolano? Or is that too slow of a stop from Michaud? Or is the reality somewhere in between? We're coming up to the stadium section for our top three. Campbell continuing his stretch away now that he's not having to fight anybody. Looks like he loves the clear air with no pressure from behind. I think Grinnell also pitting in front of him. He's a lap down, though. So that is not amongst the leaders. Who dares respond? Not Campbell, but Bergqvist does.
All right, and just a note, Joe, on those pit stop times, we're really seeing sort of a wide variety here. Michaud and Vanko both came in and had a 21 and 20-second stop, respectively. Margola and Pavolano both had a 16. So I'm not sure if somebody's underfueling or somebody's overfueling, but I think one of those is true.
Calhoun is also in, along with Bergqvist. And nobody else behind them for the time being. Oh, it looks like Baron Hilton pitting from 11th. So he'll get cycled back through the field as we keep the cameras on Robbie Campbell, now a full 1.4 seconds ahead of the Porsche of Kyle Robertson. So Michaud is, whoa, he's behind Bergqvist by a big margin here. So yeah, this was way too of a slow of a stop for Michael, and Kevin effectively into second place at this stage.
Yeah, indeed. Bergqvist able to come in and out of the box with about 16.6 seconds stationary. So I think that is an overfuel there for Michaud. That has got to be the explanation. Maybe just an error on strategy or something like that.
4 seconds behind the 64 at this stage. They've also got Pavolano behind them in 11th with Calhoun in 12th. In fact, Pavolano is back by a huge margin, 17 seconds I'm seeing at this stage. Campbell making good of all the time that he's got without any hassle. In fact, he has no interest in coming in right now. He continues on past, so does Robertson. So he doesn't feel pressure to try and pit, but London does. Looks like Kieran's going to take his fuel stop.
Yeah, Kieran London coming on down the lane right now, waiting to see if anybody else does. Robbie Campbell was running pretty quick on those last couple of laps. Had a bit of a bad one last time with a 48.4, but I was seeing him down in the 47s on the previous two. So maybe just a little bit of an error there for the 93.
Still waiting on a decent number of drivers to pit. Pretty much the top 7 need to come in and take fuel. You cannot get to the finish on the beginning tank of fuel for this race. They've limited the fuel cells compared to what they carry in real life to ensure that a pit stop must happen. Into the Spitzker, Robbie Campbell still at about 2.6 seconds over Robertson. And the gap down to third, Oliveira, is 7.7 seconds. So again, some of that is separated by those who decided to take pit stops between the 15 and the 19 car, but it's a nice little gap. We're going to ride with Marco for just a moment, see what it's like on board this McLaren.
And what you can see here, Joe, trying to get that car. One of the characteristics of the McLaren is it does get a little squirrely under braking, a little bit of an over rotation there coming through the Mercedes arena. Big clobber curve, brings the car out nice and wide. That's good. Now, Mobile One, you got to be very careful with this. Just a little bit of a feather of the throttle as you come through. Keep it in 4th gear. There you go. Now bring it over to the right. No room for error. Brake right at that 50-meter board and let that banking carry you around, carry that speed around like we talked about. Flat here until you get up to this first part of the Sud curve. There he goes, brings it out, and our leader is in the pits.
Okay, so now we start to see some of the front runners responding. Robertson in, Oliveira also in, Sumner behind them, having a pretty decent race there, sitting in 4th, but he'll hand some positions back. Campbell still looking for a stall, and he finds it. I think this race is with Bergqvist at this stage. Let's see if the 64 gets anywhere close to the 93.
Well, there you can see Bergquist coming through the final corner right now, waiting for Campbell. Campbell is out and on the move. He is going to beat him handily.
Yeah, there's Bergquist on your screen now. And Campbell is already past the cones. He's up to speed. And it looks like, this could be a close one with Robertson, though. Is Robertson going to be able to jump Bergquist? He's got the inside down into the Parabolica entry, and he's got the spot.
Does indeed. Let's jump back to the replay here to see how this happened. You can see right at pit entry there, Robertson coming on out, trying to just get that power down as fast as he can. And they're going to be side by side as they go into the Parabolica entry. Just absolute determination from both drivers trying to hold it out. Robertson breaks a little bit earlier, but that inside line helps to carry him around.
Okay, so your order now that the pit stop sequence has finished is Campbell, Robertson, Bergquist, and Michaud. Pretty much the only one in the same position they were before the pit stops is Campbell leading. I kind of wonder, though, remember Campbell's the one that made contact with Jerome Bertone. He might come away with a penalty after that one.
Yeah, he might. I have to say that did reek a little bit of avoidable contact, but that will be for the stewards to decide later in the week. As of right now, Robbie does have a whopping 5-second advantage over Robertson behind him.
Best of the rest, and poor Michael Michaud, unless he knows he had a long stop, is probably sitting there wondering, what did I do wrong, and how do I get back in front of these two?
Well, as we've seen, it's going to be a tricky order for him to try to get done. Very, very difficult to get that overtake done here. But we're going to jump back here. This is a battle between Vanko and Hilton.
This is for 13th position coming down into the Sachs curve. Hilton thought about it. Brakes early, though. Doesn't want to attack the Porsche into this turn. We're going to ride on board with him.
Yeah, and I think a little bit of that was just trying to scare Vanko off the line. You saw how much wider he was through the Sachs curve. And because of that banking, very wide line there up ahead for Vanko. He's lucky he didn't lose the car over that sausage curve.
Speaking of which, that slow car that you see, that's Pobolano with, I think, some damage. He went wide at the south curve and went off track, hit the inside wall pretty hard. He's under threat. Here comes Vanko. Down to the inside. Yeah, he's quicker in a straight line. Early braking shows me that the 101 doesn't like how the car is handling right now. Hilton through as well.
Yeah, you can see the front nose of Pobolano's McLaren all kinds of gummed up. I think Peter Newhook has also had an off right now in the Mobil 1 arena, or in the Mercedes-Benz arena. So fortunately, that's going to delay this fight we've been watching a little bit, but move both of those drivers, Vanko and Hilton.
Let's go to Michaud. Michaud just made a fantastic move on Bergquist into Mobil 1. Somehow snuck a pass in there. Let's take a look at the replay. A poor exit from Kevin out of Mercedes set this one up, and you can see he's already thinking about it. Gets his nose to the inside. No defense, and there he goes.
Really just caught him napping there, Joe. I don't think Bergquist expected that move. You could see how wide of a line he was taking. As you said, offered no defense, and Michaud said, thank you very much. Now he's got to gain the second back of about 1.7 seconds up the road to try to get second place away from Kyle Robertson in that Porsche.
That's the swift right-hander is Mobil 1, so I'm not shocked that they lost some time in that exchange. He's still got about 10 minutes to do it. We'll see if he can make it work. I see Newhook into the pits yet again. Wonder if this is his second stop because of him having to come in early with his damage. Meanwhile, in front of it all, 5.5 seconds ahead of the next car. Robbie Campbell trying to make it 2 for 2 in the first season of the PRL GT4 Amateur Series. Don't forget to stick around for the PRL GT3 Pro Series here at Hockenheim, coming up in just a few minutes after this race.
Yeah, it'll be the same track, a little bit more high-powered cars, so we'll have to see how that spat of machinery handles this track. I think all of those drivers, though, will be hoping to have a run like Robbie Campbell has had here today. Absolutely indeterminable, just really pushing forward. But as we said a little bit earlier, we're going to have to wait and see what the stewards say with that contact with Berthum early on.
Had some contact between Calhoun and Walker just now out of the Spitzkehre. This is BMW smashing into Porsche. Little German rivalry, unfortunately, coming to blows. Here's the incident.
All right, so here we watch it. That Bimmer coming in under braking, going through the Spitzkehre. Waiting to see it here. Hold on, there it is. Let's
take another angle at it, yeah.
Yeah.
Because this was through the hairpin. Here we go.
All right, so there you see Calhoun. Ooh, not really Calhoun's fault. Once you're getting onto the throttle there out of the Spitzkehre, you kind of got to let the momentum carry you. I just don't think he really expected Walker to have that in front of him, and that was definitely some incidental contact.
Yeah, 22 was not all the way to the edge of the track, and you can see the damage on the left-hand side of the BMW. In the meantime, we've been looking at this off and on, London versus Liviera. Kieran got quite close in the parabolic entry, but he seems to have dropped back now.
Yeah, closes up on your braking and contact.
Spun him off. He's going to pause. He'll let Marco back in front of him. So Kieran doing the gentlemanly thing in this situation cost both of them some time. We'll see if that nets him a penalty since he politely let him back in front.
I think he just missed his braking zone a little bit there, Joe. Maybe thinking about the overtake. You can see him jinking out to the right-hand side of the road there, but that was certainly just some driver error on London's part, and kudos to him for, as you said, doing that gentlemanly thing, getting out of the way, letting Oliveira continue on.
7 minutes left to go now, and we have lost what appears to be 3 cars. Land, Benah, and I think Berthum is done, as he's been in the pits for 24 minutes now, taking repairs. Burmeister returned after 5 minutes of repairs and is running last of the field in 19th. We're watching the number 19 car, though, of Marco Oliveira, who is within the top 5, coming to set another lap. This is the start of lap 19 for him. He's got about 10 seconds to make up after that incident to catch Bergqvist, which is not looking likely.
No, I don't think he's really going to be able to make that work. But as we check back in on our Lieber, which is like a leader, Robbie Campbell is pulling that gap out to about 5.8 seconds, just absolutely controlling the pace of this race.
Yeah, he's increased it by a few margins, not huge chunks. It was at about 5.5 seconds, now up to nearly 6 over his rivals behind him. This stage, I think he just has to manage the race, and he can indeed make it back-to-back wins. Wonder if the other driver is going to be upset with him, if Jerome Berthum will have some words or some questions post-race, considering he was doing a good job holding on to the lead up to the point where he got run into by Campbell.
Certainly was, and I will say, and we're going to jump back, though, before that point. This is Sumner and Semkowicz, a little battle shaping up here.
Yeah, the 012 chasing the 98 out of the Mercedes arena. Much wider exit there for Spencer. And Sumner just wants to try and get to the finish. He's not going to fight it. He lets the 012 through into 7th.
And we just heard over the radio Sumner saying that he is right coming up to that incident limit and cannot afford any incident points. So he just wanted to let him through so he can focus on driving a clean 5 minutes in this race.
A bit of a shame for Charles, but I think an 8th place up from 13th should still make him pretty happy. Doing him a few better is Oliveira, who we've been following on and off. He started 15th. And he's sitting in 5th right now. So a gain of 10 Nicely done for the 19 car.
Yeah, very, very well done for him to be able to move up like that. You can see.
We had we had an incident, and it might have been 3 separate ones. Simard is out. I see Vonko in pit lane. Yeah, Simard's was a lone incident. Not sure what caused Vonko's. Yeah, Vonko's was a different one, and it was quite some time ago. This is Simard's incident.
All right, so that's coming out of the Mercedes-Benz arena. Diving down here into the Mobile One, just, too much speed through the corner, and he lost it. Joe, I can also report that Baron Hilton has run afoul of the incident limit. He just served a drive-through.
That has got to be frustrating this close to the end. Well, Simard keeps running now in 15th. Hilton is just ahead of him in 14th, having dropped a few with his drive-through. Whoa, who was that by the leader? That was Burmeister. That's Jason. He's still, he's our last car running. It looks like he's actually pitting from here. He knows he's not going to be able to gain any positions if he keeps rolling.
Yeah, and there you saw as your leader able to get around that with no issue. Gap up to 5.6 seconds right now. Crossed over the line with just over 3 minutes to go. So I believe that was 2 to go. He should get the white flag this time by.
Yeah, I think you're right. Okay, still at about 5.5 seconds. So he lost some time to Robertson since we last looked, but clearly not anything to be concerned over. I would be willing to wager that he's managing it now, not running at full tilt to hold the car together and make sure he claims this victory. A lot of drivers have backed off a little bit. We already heard Sumner mention that he's had to do so to keep from getting any more incident points. So into Mercedes for the penultimate time, just swinging the car off to the right, trying to make this entry as wide as he can.
And it's one of those things that you normally see that corner and you say, oh, I want to run it wide on the exit there. But because of the way the track comes back, you really kind of have to fight that instinct, try to keep it in the middle of the road. Now works his way through Mobile One, just about the perfect line through there before breaking into Sachs Curve.
Yeah, this track was trickier than I thought it would be, I have to admit. A number of corners that have lines that just don't really seem to fit what you'd think common sense would merit. And white flag now getting pulled out for Robbie Campbell. The Canadian driver won the first round over in Austria, coming to the sister country here in Germany. He's in a very good position to repeat the feat. It's down to 4.7 seconds. And it does look like Campbell is kind of easing up a little bit, although I will say Robertson did turn up the wick. Was that his personal best? No, he was off by about 0.3 of his personal best. We're on board with him now.
Yeah, but the gap is still about 4.5 seconds. So unless Robbie Campbell has a big problem here, I can't see any way that Robertson is able to get this top step.
So the 93 down through the Spitzkara with 4.5 seconds over the Porsche behind him. How about Robertson's run in a Porsche, though? It seemed like the McLaren was the car of choice here, had so much pace. There were a few other cars within the top 10, and yet Robertson proving everybody wrong by managing a podium here today. The next nearest car that isn't a McLaren is Simkowicz in 7th place. And Robbie Campbell with just a couple more corners to go down through Mobile One. Started it in 3rd. And he's not going to get the bonus for pole here today. We'll see if he gets any of the others. I'll have to check to see who has the fastest lap right now. I think it might be Michaud, actually. But down out of the arena, out of the stadium section, and through the South Curve, Robbie Campbell is going to take the win here in Germany. Behind him, Kyle Robertson with a 2nd place in round 2. Michaud will round out the podium, but it's a question of what could have been if it were not for that poor pit stop.
Behind him, it's going to be Bergquist coming across the line. Oliveira looks like he will be able to hold on to 5th as well, with London behind him to round out your top 6.
Not much in the way of battles behind them as they trickle across the line. Looking to see if we have any of them. Sumner wound up 8th. He did manage to finish it in the position he was hoping for, it seems. The Pavolano and Hilton apart by about 2 seconds, and that's the closest we've got, as they have 15 cars left on the lead lap. You see Barney waving them through with that checkered flag. And so as Pavolano takes it across here in just a moment with Hilton behind him, that'll pretty much solidify the results. And indeed, it looks like there will be no change there. Let's go through our finishing order here today after round 2 of the PRL GT3 AM series. Robbie Campbell took the win with Kyle Robertson finishing in 2nd. It was Michael Michaud in 3rd, followed by Bergquist in 4th. Oliveira certainly had some exciting moments. He gets a top 5, gaining 10 spots from his grid position, with London behind him in 6th, Simkovic in 7th, and Charles Sumner was P8, trying to avoid incidents at the end. David Calhoun was 9th, and Jordan Walker rounds out your top 10.
Piotr Margola was able to come home in 11th, followed by Michel Gagnon doing a recovery drive there, coming home in 12th. Michael Pavolano was 13th, followed by Baron Hilton and Francois Simard, rounding out your drivers on the lead lap. Scott Grinnell and Peter Newhook both finishing a lap down, and Vanko, Burmeister, and Berthum unable to finish here today.
That's going to take us to a quick break. We'll come back with the unofficial results, or we'll come back with driver interviews, actually. And we'll have the PRL GT Pro Series here in just a moment. Let's see you in a moment. Excuse me, I guess we are heading to interview now then, I suppose, as we got Rob Campbell here with us.
How you doing?
Rob, congratulations, back-to-back wins, and it looked like you had to fight a bit for this one, including a little bit of controversial circumstances partway through the race. What's your take on what happened there into the Mercedes arena?
Those guys were battling, and I thought Jerome was going to pull all the way over to the right to get an angle for the apex there, and he just didn't quite go as far as I thought, and I got into him. That's completely on me there.
So knowing that, do you expect that the stewards are likely to give you a penalty for that one? Or do you think you're going to be okay?
I'd have to watch the replay again, but like I said, I'm pretty sure that that was on me. If they decide to it's penalty worthy, then I got no qualms with that. I think it's deserved.
It's good to at least hear you put your hands up on that one, but I'll be sad to see if that winds up being the case, because it was a pretty good run from your point of view, it seems, or at least our point of view, because after that pit stop, you had managed to gap a whole lot of people and just looked unfazed.
Yeah, once I get some clear track there, I was able just to settle down and worry about running some clean laps, but it was definitely a battle at first. Those guys had some speed. I thought I was a little faster, but just couldn't find any way to move around them. With all three of us being in the same cars, we were pretty equal.
Well, congratulations on the win. Is there anybody you'd like to thank for this victory?
I'd just like to thank the guys for holding this league again. It's been a lot of fun so far, 2 races in, and again, you guys for the great coverage. I got my whole family watching it, and they're enjoying it.
Great stuff. This was Rob Campbell, your winner here today. That will now send us to a break. We'll come back to the GT4 Pro Series or GT3 Pro Series, so stick around. Welcome back to Hockenheim. After watching the PRL GT4 Amateur Series, we're getting ready for some GT4 Pro or GT3 Pro Series here. But before that, we've got our second place finisher from tonight, Kyle Robertson.
Well, Kyle, first off, congratulations. And I got to ask you, first off, talk me through that pit sequence coming out there just right on the edge and fighting into the parabolic entry.
Yeah, it was a little tight there, honestly. I was kind of hoping I would have had a better entrance and exit, but I saw Kevin coming up, and I was just hoping that he couldn't catch up to me until after I cleared the pit exit line, because I didn't want to have to go and try and block, but I'm gonna try and squeeze him just as much as I could to make sure I tried to hold the spot there. But it's just some close, clean racing there, but it was a lot of fun with him.
It certainly looked like it, and it looked like that passing was a little bit difficult out there today. Was that kind of factoring into your decision to really just stick it there?
Yeah. I was surprised how hard it was to pass. But truth be told, I actually changed my setup for a little bit more rear wing for the stadium section, which helped, I guess, show it in the official races. So I guess that was the issue I was having, just trying to, suck up to the guys and be able to keep up with them on that long straight. But as a whole, just looking at, the standings, it didn't seem like there was much passing.
Yeah, it really didn't. Well, congratulations on the podium here today. Anybody you'd like to thank?
I'd like to thank my team, Jameson Motorsports. My teammate Andre is always there helping me out, and the VRS for the great setups. My sponsors, 10 Flat Detailing, and Drive Trainer, and well, I'd like to thank my wife for getting me this awesome sim rig I have. Without her, this wouldn't be possible, so can't complain there.
Well, I'd say that is the definition of true love. That was your podium finisher in the GT4 AM category, Kyle Robertson.
It shows you when you've got a caring one. As we take a look at qualifying the last few moments here, and Nicholas Rubelar, who won last round, currently holding the pole position over Morales. Neither of them on the track. Jesse Stevens is going to try to snatch it away. He'll get one more shot after this one. He does improve to a 38.1, and he's about a quarter of a second off. No, Munoz now up into second ahead of him.
The plot thickens there, Joe. Now we're going to see what Julio Palacios got driving that McLaren out of the final corner. Comes across the line with the 38.9. That'll bump him up to 25th place.
11 seconds left, so these are the last few drivers that are going to be able to start a lap. I think Godin is going to be close on if he'll get to the line in time. We're watching Costello. Godin is made it across and done a 38.2, which is his fastest. I'm not sure if he started that lap in time, though. Lampy, for sure, is going to be done. He sits in 14th, taking his Porsche across, and it's not going to be faster. Same for Fishman.
Next up is going to be Dave Menino, and it looks like Menino able to improve up to 6th place, so good run for him there. Ted Lowendick not able to improve his time. Cal Quinn able to bump himself up to 12th.
Looks like James David is going to get one last shot. 38.9 won't do it, unfortunately. His teammate Genet also does not improve. Ovando in the BMW, a 39 flat. That will take him up to 28th, one position. David Holland is the next one. Doesn't go quicker.
Holland not able to do that. Now we're going to watch Ferragonio right now, the independent driver of the 41 machine, coming around that final corner. Good exit there, trying to improve on a 39 dead. Is he going to do it? He's not.
And it's Lewis Goodway behind him. Has to do better than a 38.2 or 38.3, and unfortunately he's not going to get it. Bell completely off track, so that for sure is not an improved lap. Costello will be the next one in the number 16.
Well, indeed, Palacio pulling it into the pits there, as you can see. Costello coming across. A little bit of a wide exit there. Is he going to be able to improve at the line? Yes, to the tune of about 0.3 of a second. That'll bump him up to 26th.
All right, we've got a little bit of time before we grid up. Let's take a quick look at our championship order. starting with the Drivers' Championship here in the GT3 Pro Series. Rubelar leads Modoff as Stevens, Tavares, and Holland round out your top 5. Very close racing for 3rd, 4th, and 5th right now. What about the team standings?
Well, Joe, in that team standings, Delta Sport Raptor only a single point ahead of Punto CL Racing Black, so we'll have to watch that battle. Delta Sport Eagle is 13 points back, and it's a little bit of a battle there for 3rd with SRT Esports Blue 6 points off, and Delta Sport Falcon only 4 points off them.
And of course, our race details for today. We are in round 2, and it's another 40-minute race today. Open setup for these cars as well, and a lot more to choose from. They have the same incident limit and same bonus points. Time to go through that starting grid. And on the pole for that, it is going to be Nicholas Rubelar. Nobody able to topple him. Munoz able to get close in 2nd with Stevens in 3rd, and Morales starting on the outside of row 2. Jean-Francois will be in P5, followed by Menino in 6th. Tavares will be in 7th, and then he'll be flanked by James David. Lewis Goodway starts from 9th, and Fredes rounds out your top 10.
In 11th, it's going to be David Holland, followed by Horacio Cal Quinn, Felipe Riquime, and Alessandro Di Tullio back in 14th. In row 8, it'll be Ethan Lamp and Connor Wagner, and behind them, David Fishman and Christian Raditz. And rounding out your top 20, it's Ted Lowendick and Jorge Flores.
And it'll be Connor Bell in 21st, followed by Raymond Yip in 22nd. Ferguson starts from P23. Got in a little bit of trouble with the stewards last race. Genet in 24th, followed by Palacio P25. You've got the outside of that row with Costello in it. Williams the inside of the next row. Ferragonio will be 28th. Ovando 29th, and Berger in 30th. Last 3 will be Magnon, Rines, and Strykars. 33-car field here today, and they're already gridding up, ready to go for our 2nd round in the GT3 Pro Series. We've got some onboards with Teddy Lowendick. He's got a friend with him. This one, he took our advice. We told him we can't always see some of the tinier things. No mistakes, just happy trees, though. I approve of that message. I'm a big fan. And then we have our pole sitter giving us a view, Rubelar, with his 3-screen setup today. So keep an eye out for him. Then after that, we've got Ignacio with us one more time. Similarly, very yellow room that he's got. We'll have to keep track of that as already the drivers now start rolling off. And of course, we've got Raditz as our last of them, giving us a view of his sim rig, letting us watch those hands and those reactions here today in Germany. Up at the front, Rubelar is going to lead the way. What can he do in 40 minutes? Pole sitter didn't have a good time in the GT4 AMS. Will it be different for the Lambo? He's off the final corner, and he's on it quickly. Green flag is out behind him. A swap of positions as Munoz gets overtaken by Stevens, who we're told is going to have very little wing in it. Will that help him? Flying into the north curve. Is anybody going to have any problems? I saw a near spin from Lampy, but he holds onto it. Everybody behind so far is clean.
Ooh, very aggressive move there from Tavares, the number 10, trying to make a move up on the inside of Morales. They're going to be side by side coming through the Parabolica entry. And now's the first time we're really going to be able to see that low wing of Jesse Stevens. Lots of side by side there in the back. We continue to watch this battle. Oh, almost contact between the two. Crossover move there for Tavares.
These are the pro guys, so these are going to be a little bit more aggressive of moves. Hopefully it's just as gentlemanly, though, as Morales has the inside. Can he get the launch off the corner? Looks like they're banging doors, and the Porsche of Tavares will prevail.
Yeah, Tavares caught a little bit of that exit curbing, and that's through the car sideways. That's why you saw that happen. Whoa, a little bit of a move there for Morales trying to fight back. That almost puts Goodway into the back of him.
In fact, I'd say Goodway did indeed make some contact into Mercedes. There is a lot of side-by-side racing behind them. You can see them trying to sort it into single file out of the arena section, now down into the stadium section as well. And we had some contact between DeTulio, who spins, and it's a checkup behind him. Amazingly, only one car goes off track.
Oh my goodness gracious, great save all the way there around.
Looking back up at the top 5, Tavares ahead of Morales, now being challenged by Goodway. Godin is in there as well.
Indeed they are. Nobody looking like they're going to try a move here into the Nord curve right now, and they're going to indeed stay single file. Ooh, a little bit of a run there in the back from Godin, I think. He's going to take a little bit of a look.
They come down into the Parabolica entry. Doesn't quite work out. For those wondering, DeTulio is last place on the track. So that one hurt on the very first lap for him, considering how far up the order he was.
Indeed it did. Now, Joe, we saw in the AM race in those GT4s, not a lot of draft coming into play. More aerodynamics on these GT3s. I think we're going to see a little bit more of some action going down here into the Spitzkehre. And indeed, you can see this massive train.
Yeah, and look, oh, it's a traffic jam back there. That was Fishman, Ferguson, Raditz, and Bell involved in that melee back there as we watch our front runners down into the Mercedes arena. Tavares still holding Morales at bay.
And holding him off, just trying to get a little bit of a gap if he can. But Morales doing a very good job of keeping it close behind. Both of them really clobbering the curbing there, going through Mobile 1. Come down into the Sachs curve and just have to stay single file.
Yeah, compare the last race to this one in terms of makes. And you've got 4 of them in the top 9. So a lot more split. This is Ignacio Fredes as we watch his perspective chasing the Porsche of Jean-Francois Godin.
Yeah, trying to get behind him. A lot of guys running wide there. Remember, the incident limits are the same in both series, so drivers are going to have to be a little bit careful of that.
Down into the braking for the parabolic entry. And able to gain some on the entry, but the exit is what counts here as they start to pick up speed. Already 130 miles an hour. It doesn't seem to be good enough for him. Top 7 that we're watching just kind of spread apart at this stage.
Yeah, and as expected, woo, a little bit of move in the back there. I'm not sure exactly who that is, but maybe a little bit of a look.
I think that was Holland and David there who had a moment nearly making contact, managed to keep out of each other, thankfully. Swinging it into the Mercedes arena yet again. Holland keeping safe ahead in that 10th spot. Let's take a look at that opening incident with DeTulio. I really am shocked that it didn't involve more cars because they were just all jumbled up coming into Mobile 1. There is contact between a few of them, and only DeTulio lost control.
Yeah, so here you see that absolute traffic jam coming out of the Mercedes-Benz section. We focus here on DeTulio. He's going to dive down into Mobile 1. Got a little bit of a nudge from behind, tried to catch it, goes around and just slides off into the kitty litter. And Joe, you're right. Very, very lucky that no other drivers were collected.
Morales is already in pit lane. This cannot be a pit window stop. Vicente in the 55 has ducked off, and
it's a drive-through.
Driven through in the first 6 minutes of this race. It's going to be a miserable last few laps for him.
Oi, 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 10 incidents coming at you. Ooh, we've got Goodway and Godin, though, starting to get a little feisty here. Godin trying to take a look to the inside. Not going to do it quite yet. Oh, maybe he is, though. Very aggressive coming through the Spitzkehre.
Yeah, poked his nose down in there, but he got chopped off at the apex. He's got to be careful. Fredes is still right behind him. I'm sure he'd love to snatch up a position at the first opportunity.
I'm sure he would as well. Ooh, Fred is looking a little bit challenging there coming out of Mercedes-Benz. He's got a pretty good run here. We saw in the last race you can be aggressive going down into the Mobile 1 curve, but I do not recommend it.
Yeah, not this early in the race for sure. Still 33 minutes left to go. So he'll try for another time, another opportunity. First of our McLarens worth noting here in the GT3s is Minito just behind them. So good job for the number 3 machine. There you can see Minito on your screens now as Rubillard takes the fastest lap.
Yeah, indeed, he does, starting to grow the gap out to Jesse Stevens. We continue to follow this big train riding on board now with Dave Menino. Drivers running wide up there. They've got to be careful. They don't want to end up in the same position that we saw Morales get into. You can pick up those 1Xs, and they will count very, very quickly.
Now, I was just giving a glance to see if we had any hard chargers. This can't be right. I'm seeing Holland in 29th. No, he qualified 11th. So excuse me, my timing and scoring a little bit off right now, so apologies. I'll try and make sure I double check that before I call that out.
Oh, but Joe, we just saw in front of us, that was Fredes taking a look and getting Godin going down into the hairpin. Very, very good move, taking advantage of the draft and just making it work.
Okay, so there's one of our passes down into the Spitzkura. Will we see more throughout the day? It certainly looked difficult in the GT4s. With the added downforce, do you think it'll be a little bit easier out there today, DJ?
Well, I think it may be a little bit more difficult coming through some of the bendy sections. They'll have to actually worry about the dirty air, but it will make it easier to get that draft. I've already seen it. More and more passes getting done going down the long parabolica. It's going to make this a lot more racy.
First 10 minutes of this race been somewhat frantic for a few drivers. Others maybe not so much. Trying to settle in. A lot more cars out there for sure. This is the battle for P5 with Goodway leading in his BMW M4, being chased by Fredes with Godin freshly behind him, having been overtaken in the last lap or two. Menino still in there. We're going to watch from Holland's perspective.
And that's Menino and Godin right ahead of him that wait for one of the greatest things in iRacing, the flame spit coming out of the back of that McLaren. There it is. You always love to see it. Dave Menino doing a good job getting that tunnel down. They all concertina up a little bit of a wide exit there for Holland. I don't think he would have liked to have taken that much curbing.
Got a bit of a battle between Connor Wagner and Ferguson behind them. This is for 12th position. Ferguson is going to slam the door shut. In that 676, you can see the Audi is now our highest positioned Audi. Well, he was before, but he's one position higher on top of it.
Exactly, and Wagner having a little bit of a bobble coming out of Mercedes there, and that's going to allow, I think, for Ferguson to try to focus up the road. That's Ethan Lampy right ahead of him, two of the Delta Sport drivers sandwiching him as they run now.
Just checking to see if we had all 8 makes here today, but I'm not seeing any Ferraris. So that will at least remove us of one. I'm not sure if we're missing any others. I think there's no Ford GT3s. Down and across the line. They start lap 7 of this race. Faster laps than what we saw out of the GT4s in these cars. Continue to run along with Ferguson. This is Ethan Lampy in front of him. Started this race in 15th, up 4 spots. Let's see if there's any difference in setup between them here.
Well, let's see if he gets it. Not seeing a lot of movement there from Ferguson. Not really able to close down as much as I thought he would, but I'll tell you who is. That's Menino and Holland. They're side by side going into the hairpin. There you can see them.
Wow, so looks like Holland is going to get ahead of David Menino, and so will Fredes ahead of Goodway. Goodway is hounding him up in front there. Tries to make him defend, but it's not going to work. Just can't get him to go off the racing line. Oh, but it's a very good exit for the orange and white 23. Does he fancy his chances into Mobile 1? No, he does not.
No, doesn't quite go for it there. Oh, but that's a long run there for Fredis. He's going to lose a little bit of time. There you see, that's Goodway trying to take a little bit of a longer curve into it, trying to carry some speed. He's not really going to have an overtaking opportunity down until he gets to the first corner. Oh, but he's going to try something anyways in the first part of the south curve. And that's Fredis wide, and that's Goodway coming into the pits.
Did he just scare him off the racing line? If so, a very clever move. Now, the question of whether this early pit strategy will work for Goodway is a whole nother thing, unless he's got a drive-through. I hope not. Hate to see another driver within 12 minutes have to be sent to the back. This is Munoz that we see on screen now. Still trying to chase Stevens, who...
It's a drive-through for Goodway.
Oh, no. So Goodway suffers. So that was not a clever strategy call. That was some poor driving, unfortunately. And he loses tons of positions. But I was about to say that Munoz chasing Stevens, but that slippery 36 seems to be continuing to run away as we look at the 96. And he leads his own train. Godin, Holland, Menino, and David.
Yeah, David having a little bit of a look at Menino going into the hairpin. They're all going to stay single file. They're going into Mercedes. Porsche versus McLaren versus Porsche here. This 5-car train really doing a good job. You can see Fredis doing a very good job bringing that car out wide, trying to carry as much momentum as he can. It's good defensive driving out of the 96.
Man, right on top of Godin, though, is the 18. Is trying to hold him accountable. Don't need to go to it. We had a spin from Pedro Berger. Oh, he also got in contact with Raymond Yip. So farther down the field, two drivers struggling to keep control and stay out of one another. Oh, this has been looking pretty bad for Jean-Francois as Holland continues to get closer and closer. Eventually, he's going to try and attack. He's not going to sit around forever.
No, he's not. I think we ought to stick here. If he can nail these next two corners, he may have a really good shot. May Holland, there you can see going down into the parabolica entry. Is he going to poke his nose? No, he's going to be early on the brakes. That's a smart move from Holland. He knows the best overtaking opportunity is coming right up.
Decent exit down through the parabolica. I don't think he's close enough. I think we finally have a scheduled stop for Connor Bell because he's coming to pit lane. I see Berger in and Yip. Yeah, Yip is stopping too. You know, one thing we haven't pointed out about that 10 incident limit, we keep saying it's very small, but I guess for context, anybody who does race on iRacing and understands that's 2 car contacts and 2 offs, and that's it. You've already got a penalty.
Yeah, it is a very, very narrow window, and it is something the series organizers decided to put in to try to make this as clean as possible. And you have already seen in these first couple of rounds what can happen if you fall afoul of that. It can absolutely destroy a race.
Really can, and it's an unfortunate one. So as the 25 minutes left creeps closer to halfway point. We saw a few do the halfway mark pit stop in the GT4s. I'm not sure that we'll see many try that in the GT3s. And Godin dealing with the pressure well, I must admit. The 5 has looked somewhat unflappable in these early stages despite Holland breathing down his neck.
Yeah, we've seen him run a little bit wide at a couple of corners, but it hasn't really cost him that much speed. So it's a really, really good job for Jean-Francois here. Again, though, we see Holland closing up.
Also got Jorge Flores into the pits, but that's a scheduled stop. We're going to watch from David's perspective. A champion in the Thursday night series, running in the Formula 3s in the past. And now hopping over to GT cars to ply his trade. He thinks about it into the Spitzker, but thinks better of it.
Yeah, nobody really making the move here. I think we're settling down a little bit into the race. I think these drivers want to see how their pit stops play out. We also may be seeing just a hair of fuel saving out of these cars, trying to eke out an extra lap or two.
And up at the front, Rubilar is about 3.5 seconds over Stevens. So despite being fast in a straight line, doesn't seem to be totally working for Jesse, but he's got a nice little comfortable margin over everybody else, and a second place potentially on his hands. Watching from on board the 4 currently. Using plenty of track there off the final corner.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of drivers do that. You don't necessarily get an off track for that, so it's just about maximizing speed there for him. Oh, I'll tell you who did take a lot of it, though. That was David Holland. He ran very wide up into the grass coming out of that final corner.
And at the same time, Teddy Lowendick just had a spin out of the Sachs curve, so he's going to lose a few spots in the process. Let's take a look at Holland's replay, though. This is one of our top runners, so this has significant implications.
Indeed it does. So this is that battle he's been following with Godin. He didn't lose a whole lot of time, but just a very, very hair-raising moment for Holland. Comes through for the first part of the suit curve and then brings it back. Clip of the curve, and you see that overcorrection and just keeps it in.
Wow. Very lucky it didn't snap on him. He was counter-steering as he went into the grass. That could have really been horrible for him. Lowendick did pit in the meantime. He's done with his stop for the day with 22 minutes left to go. And Holland still showing his nose here and there on Jean-Francois, but has not been able to make anything stick. I think he's got to be careful because Dave Menino is just as close behind that 18.
Yeah, he's got to be very, very careful. I think Menino, we've seen him be very collected and calm during a lot of these races. So if I was Holland, I'd have to be very careful of it.
Watching from over the dash of Dave Menino now. Just behind the black and red number 18 car on the front stretch. Oh, and someone behind them taking a stop. That's Ferguson. I think this will probably be scheduled, but so many drivers already falling afoul of the penalties. I'm kind of keeping an eye. Menino having a moment off of the first turn, though.
Yeah, he's looking very squirrely, but he's not losing any time, really, nor is Holland. But, ooh, maybe this will cost him. David starting to catch up. Ferguson, by the way, that was a scheduled stop. He did come to rest in his box.
Holland with a great run. In fact, this is the closest he's been. The Porsche going to try and attack the other Porsche. Or will he? He's not poking his nose out. No, he sits behind. Is he fuel saving?
You read my mind, Joe. I think he's saving a little bit of fuel here. He's perfectly content to ride behind Godin and just try to eke out maybe an extra lap. We've seen, especially in these GT3s, the overcut tends to play.
Okay, then. So that's why, wow, he's getting very, very close to that rear wing. That's why we haven't seen a pass yet between these two, potentially. Theory's starting to fly about fuel-saving manners. And I was going to say, when we were watching that onboard with Menino, we have to remember he's in the McLaren MP412C. It's kind of known here on iRacing for being a pretty twitchy machine.
Yeah, Joe, I've heard many a times that if you don't stay on top of that McLaren, it will try to kill you. And I think definitely Menino doing a good job to try to stave that off here.
As they come around to start another lap. This is lap 13 now, lucky number 13 for our drivers at pretty much exactly the halfway marker. That one looking pretty calm, but maybe too calm because Holland closes in yet again, but he also brakes early down into, or lifts down into the Parabolica entry. Looking through to see if we got any hard chargers. And I know we've got a little bit of an issue with our timing and scoring on the grid, but I can tell you that Arnaud Genet is up 9 positions from 24th to 15th in the 312.
Focusing in here on Genet, that is him, and that is, I believe, Ferragonio right behind him, closing in, trying to see what he can do. Whoo, very close to that rear bumper.
And in fact, he's going to have a little bit of a look coming off the corner, takes another poke, then will he give it a shot down into Mercedes, or will he be rebuffed? Yeah, defensive line from the Porsche, and that might not just work. Oh, almost got by him. Chris was brave, but didn't have the grip to back it up. Oh, when he goes off course.
Hey, gotta watch out for those incident limits, and now he's gonna have to try to reel this back up and try it again. Is Chris able to drape it there? Remember, you really can't get a pass done through the Sachs curve, so he's gonna have to wait, but closes up again during braking.
Pennsylvania driver, though, is looking pretty good here. Started from 28th up to 16th for him. Another good bit of driving in a hard charger, managing to take advantage of a few drivers who have not only had damage, but simply taken too many off tracks today and run through the pit lane because of the stewards giving them a wag of the finger. Not close enough this time down to the parabolica entry, unfortunately.
No, he's not. Let's see if he's able to keep up some good exit speed. The gap's going to grow out to about 4.5 tenths of a second. Don't think that's really going to be enough for him to make a hard move going down into the Spitzkehre.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't seem like it. BMW, yeah, it just hasn't got the legs this time by against the Porsche. You know, you talked about the overcut usually being the MO, though. With some of the drivers struggling to try and get past, do you think it's worth it just doing maybe 1 or 2 laps earlier than the driver you're up against?
Well, it's worth a shot, and some of the reason that will work is where you come out in traffic. If you're able to get some clean air, maybe run some good laps through the twisty bits of this circuit, it can certainly help you. The flip of that being is you will lose a little bit of time if you don't have that draft buddy going down the parabolica.
Once again, going to check in on Godin. Oh, my goodness. Holland's not afraid to run up close to him. Behind him, a pit in from James David. That might have been our highest driver to have pitted. If this is a pit, we're gonna have to keep a close eye on those just in case. Ooh, another hairy moment there for Holland.
And I can report David is coming to his stall, so that does look like it is a planned pit stop.
Ooh, Connor Wagner had a big scare. If we can get a replay on the 51, this is into the first corner. And this is one driver that's probably grateful that we have paved runoff here.
Yeah, so this is why, I think he just caught a little bit of that outside grass there, and that caused the car to spin around, able to catch it and bring it back on. Let's ride on board with this, Joe.
It looks almost immediate. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Just turn in and away she goes. Thankfully, nobody went wide behind him, so he wasn't run into. It's always a problem when you come to a halt there, just outside of that curbing. But it does send him down a few positions into 13th. Okay, we see any takers maybe trying to run a contra strategy. Just come in a lap or two early, catch them out, and come back out. Not these two. Both going to stay out with 15 minutes to go. Fred is doing a good job in front of him. Ignacio has been steadily gapping them. It's up to nearly a second at this point.
Yeah, he's done a very good job once he's gotten free of that. Still has about 2 seconds up the road to Tavares, so not really able to close that in, but Fred is looking like he's running a little bit of his own race here.
DeTulio? No, it's not DeTulio. It's J.R. Williams in. Remember, DeTulio having that spin on the first lap. He's up to 15th. He's going to have to hand a few back because he did gain a few when drivers pitted around him. But if ever there was a driver that had reason to go long, I have to imagine it's the 20 car.
Yeah, and he may be able to try to pull that out, but he's not really had all that many drivers around him to try to take advantage of lifting and coasting in the draft, so he may find it a little bit difficult.
Yeah, but I'm thinking he's got clear air right now. If anything, that's very good reason to just stay out, put in as quick a laps as possible, see where it puts him in the end.
Very good point there, Joe. We'll continue to watch that, but we're going to jump back here. This is Cal Quinn and Wagner.
Wagner behind Cal Quinn. He wants the spot back. He's on a recovery drive now that he's had that off, losing about maybe 10 seconds from his incident. They've also got Raditz just in front of them. They're entering the stadium section. It's not going to be close enough here, so I'll have to size him up for later as another fastest lap from Rubelar comes up on our screen.
And I've got to say, Joe, I think Connor Wagner's driving with a little bit of the red mist coming out of the Mercedes arena. He took a big chunk of curb, but he is now going to come on into the pits. Here he comes.
Okay, so he decides I'm just going to try and jump some of these guys in pit lane since I'm having to try and overtake slower traffic anyways. Highest pitter right now is Daniel Ferguson in 20th spot, but that was, well, that was a pretty good stop, 9.8 seconds. I thought that was too short, but that seems comparable to those around him.
And so now this battle here, this is Raditz leading Cal Quinn. Cal Quinn trying to gain in a little bit, but the gap is just under a second. So I don't think he's going to be able to try to make a move here anytime soon.
No, certainly not. Raditz stays ahead through the Spitzker, but I think we're reaching the point where we're going to start seeing a lot more drivers in. The window is beginning to close for fuel, and we do expect it to be strictly fuel. Doubt we'll see anybody take tires in a 40-minute race since it is forced to be done separately, and it will automatically add time to your race, so really is a disadvantage. Down into the stadium section this time, Raditz still gapping Cal Quinn by about 0.6 of a second.
Yeah, not really able to make it work there, but looks like Cal Quinn's starting to close in a little bit. Remember, that was a little bit longer when they started this lap, so Cal Quinn may have a little bit more speed in that W over that Lamborghini. Let's see if any of them dive into the pits. No, they're going to stay out.
But Lampy did. The 95 is onto the lane. Now, will he come out close to Ferguson? Because Ferguson's right now our highest pitter. Looks like Genet going to join him. DeTulio as well. This is Ferguson. Lampy's already in his pit stall. And he's done. But Ferguson is easily by.
All right, so there you go. The undercut playing out a little bit for Daniel Ferguson. He's going to be able to hold that down over Lampy. Now just waiting for about our top 14 to come into the pits.
Look at how close Ferguson is to the back of Julio Palacio, who is yet to pit. This is only going to hold up Daniel, considering we imagine he's going to have much better pace.
Yeah, we would assume so. Daniel's going to want to try to get by him as soon as possible. Let's see how they are under braking, see if Daniel's able to gain a lot of time here. Nice clip of the apex there for both drivers. Not able to at the moment. That's going to be a little bit of a frustration for Ferguson.
Leaders in. Rubelar pits now. Does this mean everybody else will too? Stevens does. Munoz. Tavares. Fredes does. Yeah, this is it. Everybody stretched it as far as they could. Oh, Raditz just went off. Raditz himself pulled a Vettel, coming into the Sachs curve and slammed it into the outside tires.
Oh no, Raditz was having a good run there in the hold off. But yeah, all of the leaders coming in. I'm seeing Cal Quinn coming in as well and Raditz. But let's check out that replay. Coming down here, good exit out of Mobile 1, gets onto the binders. I don't know if he caught some grass or the rear tires just locked up there. But yeah, very good Sebastian Vettel impression there for Christian Raditz.
Well, unlike Sebastian, he was able to get out of the gravel. And I think you're right. I think he clipped the grass. Rubelar is back in running, so is Stevens and Munoz and Tavares. So much of our front runners have already finished their stops. The last of them have come in, which means our pit cycle will be over with a little less than 10 minutes on the clock. If you want to make a pass, it's going to have to be on the track.
Indeed it is. And Joe, I've got to say, the winner out of that pit cycle, is Ferguson. Ferguson up into 7th. A great job here. He now has split Holland and Godin.
From 23rd on the grid as well. Daniel Ferguson, I have a feeling that that 23rd was not representative of what he could have done, because I don't see any practice laps for that 676 car. So he might have come in a little bit blind, had to brush up on his knowledge of Hockenheim very quickly in the qualifying to try and settle lap, as he now sits behind Godin, who just hasn't been able to get a break with cars chasing him all race long.
No, he really hasn't, and now he's going to have a different beast in that Audi. Very, very nimble car, so he may be able to gain some time through the twisty bits of this circuit. There you see coming into the Sachs curve, coming down and around. This is going to be a good battle to watch, I think, Joe.
You know how we thought Holland was trying to save fuel over Godin? He did have a slightly quicker stop, maybe about 0.3. He still came out behind him, though. So whatever ploy he was trying, it just didn't seem to work.
No, it did not, and that shows you why they are down on the track and we are in the booth. Sometimes some of our ideas don't exactly work out well.
Yeah, well, like I said, he's still got an opportunity. He could still take the position, although now he's got to take 2. But he's going to have to work very hard for it. Behind them, very close fight for 9th. Menino and David separated by about 0.2. Wow, great exit for the Porsche.
Very good exit for the Porsche. Medino's going to have his hands full as they come down the Parabolica. Let's see if he's able to do this. James Davids, there's the draft coming into play. Medino going defensive in that McLaren. He's going to make him go around the long way. David's going to try to commit to it. Late under braking. And Medino's going to hold him off. David's going to look for the crossover.
He'll need the launch for it, though, because he didn't get side-by-side on the exit. I don't think it's there. He's following the McLaren. McLaren's going to cover him off down into Mercedes. Could he get another chance at the over-under? No, just too much slip. And also a sad report for fans of De Tullio. He had a drive-through as finally we get, it looks like Ferguson going past Godin. Holland tried to take advantage of it. He's going to look down into the Sachs curve, and he's going to try to make the pass stick side by side. It's a banked corner, rudely shoves him off course, and Holland is by.
Oh my goodness gracious, and I gotta say, this is all kicked off with Ferguson getting a good jump out of the Spitzkehre. Really, really good run here, and watch this. This is just a gutsy maneuver down to the inside of the Mercedes-Benz arena. Very late on the brakes, just sends it. Almost that, yeah, there was a little bit of contact there, and that's what then set up Holland to be able to get the move on Godin.
So twice in one lap, he was overtaken after being kind of elbowed out. This is from Holland's perspective. And maybe that's what Menino should have done, is get a little bit more rough with his contact and try and assert dominance. Hard to call if there's... I think that's fair racing to me.
It looks pretty fair to me. It's GT cars, and you've got to understand that in the GT, there is going to be a little bit of, oh, what's the word? Rubbing sometimes.
Taking some Daytona into equation here out in Germany. Godin's not out of it. He's still on the back of Holland, but he is 2 positions down from where he exited the pits. I can't imagine he's happy with that. Ferguson now up to 6. What a day for him.
Yeah, he is really, really on a charge, and he's got Fredis right ahead of him. This may not be done for Daniel Ferguson. He could be looking at a top 5.
Hopefully we'll get to talk to him after the race and really inquire how much practice he had, because it does have the signs of getting better as he goes, just finding pace as the race progresses and chomping at the positions. Watching from Fred's gearbox. Last time we watched him, he looked pretty cool and collected. Still looks pretty cool, but the hands are moving a lot.
Yeah, and you saw that very brief look up in the mirror just when he had the mistake. He's driving this right. He's not driving with his mirrors. He is driving the lines that he wants to drive. The only problem is Daniel Ferguson, and that Audi just looks unstoppable.
Casually rubbing the nose. Hey, he's got this under control. The Audi is right behind him. I don't think that's really a place where he needs to be concerned about a pass. He's going to try and get in his head anyways, and you could see his eyes just looking in the mirror one more time, but he knew better than that.
Well, as I said, the Audi's known for being one of the more nimble GT3s, so I think if he wants to try to make the move, we may see a repeat here. He's got a good run going down into the Mobile 1, but that's Fredis being wise to it. He's going to make Ferguson go around the outside. Ferguson says, okay, they're going to be side by side as they exit. Now Mercedes, Ferguson got it.
Could he switch back underneath him, coming down to Mobile 1? Not quite. He's got a little speed, but he doesn't have the straightaway. He's going to try and get his nose in, and that didn't work out. Now he's got to watch out, because that's David Holland behind him. We're on board with Fredis.
Yeah, and there you see that Audi right ahead of him, starting to try to pull away a little bit. Holland taking a wider line behind him, trying to see what they can do. He's got to be very careful. I think Holland is hungry as well.
This could come to tears. Oh, was that Ferguson coming in? Yeah, that was Ferguson.
I think that's a drive-through.
Oh, goodness. How many have we hit now? This has got to be 5 or 6.
Yeah, this is the most I've seen in a race, Joe. Hockenheim just catching everybody out.
Wow. And Connor Bell as well is down pit lane. I'm pretty certain. Oh, wait, no, he had a drive-through before. So this can't be another drive-through for Bell. But it can't be a pit stop either. Or at least I thought he had a drive-through. Very strange as we once again take a look at the battle down into the Spitzkara. Ooh, and very wide for Fredis. Oh, he almost loses control. Great avoidance from Holland just to get out of the way in time. Now it's a drag race.
You can see Fredis' reaction. You know he messed that up, and Godin's having a look now as well. He's going to try to pull a Ferguson, and indeed he does. Able to do that. I think there was a little bit of contact between Fredis and Holland there as his rear end wiggled out.
Gonna have to start calling Fredis ice cream, taking everything in good humor as he trails behind Godin now and down into 7th.
Yeah, so we'll have to see if he's able to get anything back. But, Joe, we've only got 1 minute and 40 left. Rubelar just crossed over. I think that's 2 to go for him.
Yeah, you're right. Just enough time to get to the line for the white flag next time through. Rubelar's Lamborghini has not been touched since the drop of the green. Been leading pretty much the entire race. In fact, I think he has led the entire race, and Fredis is in too.
Oh, that
1X.
must have been what that grin was, that the contact and the off track, it gave him a drive-through.
Wow. Well, we had to expect at the pro level that the drivers would be pushing the limits, and you get closer to the limit, more people are going to go over it, as we've seen today. So despite a rare few drive-through penalties in the GT4s and the GT3s, it has been profuse. Whoa, down to the inside. Godin is on the attack with Holland. Holland tries to defend the long way around. Can he get on the throttle soon enough? It's looking good. He's got a little edge.
He does indeed. They're going to take this down into Mercedes. Here they go side by side into the sweeping right-hander. They are neither backing off here. It's going to be preferred line for Holland, but can Godin carry the speed around? They don't make contact. Very close to one another. Godin's going to get the switch back here. Holland continues to fight. They're still side by side.
Unbelievable stuff. Neither willing to give way, and eventually it goes to Holland just barely. Rubelar just took the white flag.
Indeed he did, so now this means that for Godin, he's only got 1 more lap to try to take this top 5 away from David Holland.
I feel like Godin gets my driver of the day.
Holland! Holland's got a drive-through!
Oh, no. Another one. Dropping like flies today. The 18 going to a lowly 31 miles an hour. And I still hold to what I said before. Godin is my driver of the day. Everybody he's been racing, despite losing positions, have been having to take a penalty. So he may have been a little slower than a few of them, but you know what? He's been cleaner.
He has indeed, just running a very, very clean race here, but the cleanest and best race has been run by your leader, Nicholas Rubelar.
We'll have to see how many incidents others have had. I'm kind of impressed that we haven't seen more disappear with the 15X. I guess the fear of the stewards got to them once they got that drive-through, and they backed it up, hoping to just having to be able to get points here. There is our leader on the screen. Won at the first round, similar to how we saw the winner over in the GT4s take back-to-back wins. Nicholas Rubelar around the south curve and to the line is gonna win here today in Germany in the GT3 Pro Series.
He does there. You can see the excitement. The Seb Vettel finger #1. Behind him, a staggering 13 seconds back, is going to be Jesse Stevens.
I think that's the first time we've actually seen a driver celebrate on camera. Stevens second, Munoz third, and Tavares just off of the podium, but he's got to feel good about that one. Godin will be rewarded with a top 5 after that race.
Yeah, just the absolute definition of collected. But we're going to jump back. We got a little bit of a battle here. This is Williams, I believe, and Wagner trying to dice it up out of the final corner.
And Ferguson, some of those drivers having taken a drive-through penalty, unfortunately not able to make those spots up. Genet and Raditz just at the line, a 10th apart from one another. I think Bell is in a fight. This is with Felipe and DeTulio.
Yeah, DeTulio, remember, he had that big off at the beginning there. You can see it trying to get that final edge over the line, and they're going to come across 1, 2, 3.
All of our drivers still running at the end, finished on the lead lap. Raymond Yip going to be our last one. So let's take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to Hockenheim. After watching the PRL GT3 Pro Series, Nicholas Rubelar makes it 2 for 2, but he certainly wasn't bothered by much all race long. We'll have to talk to him, see if there were any difficulties to take that win. Jesse Stevens made a ploy of trimming out the car to see if that would help him maybe take the victory. It didn't work, but he did get a podium out of it with second place, as Paulo Munoz was third. Then it was Kevin Tavares, who was fourth, ahead of Jean-Francois Godin, who survived everybody else, falling afoul of the incident limits here today. He actually had 8 in the end, so he was pretty close himself. Menino was in 6th, with David finishing P7, Lampy in 8th, and Fishman 9th, and it's Cal Quinn rounding out the top 10.
In 11th, it was J.R. Williams, and then we get into the spat of drivers that ran afoul of that incident limit. Connor Wagner was able to escape, but Daniel Ferguson had a drive-through in 13th, as did David Holland and Ignacio Rodriguez Fredes in 15th. 16th was Arnaud Genet, followed by Ted Lowendick and Julio Palacio in 18th. Tony Costello was 19th, and Rafael Ovando back in 20th.
21st went to Connor Bell, with Raquelme in 22nd, to Tulio 23rd. Flores was P24, Raditz 25th, and Rhines in 26th. Then you've got 2 more on the lead lap, Strykars and Yip. From there on down, it was DNFs, and 11 of the drivers that finished had drive-through penalties. Jesse Stevens, though, finished in second. Jesse, a little birdie told us you tried to take a lot of wing out of the car. Do you still feel like that was the right call today?
It would have been the right call if I could have gotten in front of him. The end of the track is just so downforce dependent that I need to be in front to kind of like keep him behind, and then I can maintain, even pull a gap on the straightaway with the wing I was running.
We saw many drivers get drive-through penalties. A few of them did get DNFs today as well, as they were disqualified. You wound up with 5 of them, so not too many. Were you taking extra precaution to try and keep it within the bounds, or was this one not difficult to you?
I wasn't until I got the 5th one. Once I got the 5th one, I started backing off because it was mainly in turn 1. The track was pretty toasty, so the cars were just understeering through it, and it was hard to keep it within those little parameters on the exits.
The next round, you're heading off to a track that'll probably be more punishing if you go off track at Brands Hatch, but also very difficult to pass. Are you looking forward to that one, or do you not consider it a strength?
I'm looking forward to it. It's definitely going to suit the BMW just a little bit more than Hockenheim is. It's not as tight as far as some of the apexes are, so the length of this car doesn't really get punished too bad. I've done pretty well there in the past, so we'll just hopefully get a good setup in the car and see what it can do.
Well, we'll keep an eye out for you. That was a pretty good podium here today. Anybody you'd like to thank?
All the guys over at Pure Sims, they really keep the show going, keep everybody focused. Big shout out to Paulo. I know he got 3rd, but me and him worked together pretty much all week, going back and forth with ideas until we came across something like the wing setup. Like, I think it was Friday, and then we just drilled home trying to fine tune it. So yeah, shout out to him for helping out with that, and shout out to the whole team for keeping everyone focused and drilling forward.
Well, hopefully that gives our audience an idea of the hard work that goes into these. That was second place, Jesse Stevens, as we now have Paulo Munoz, and DJ has caught up with him.
Well, Paulo, it looked like a pretty quiet race out there for you, but you got to be happy to come home 3rd.
Hi, guys. Yeah, I'm so stoked for the result. It wasn't easy, though. I didn't get much time to practice this week because I had a bit of a fever from Tuesday all the way to Friday. So I kind of grinded the weekend, and yeah, I'm just so happy I could end up with a good result.
Well, I'd say that's even more impressive with no result. We saw a lot of drivers falling afoul of that incident limit here, and I'm looking, you, I think, only had 3, which is one of the lower numbers. So how were you managing that? I mean, was that on your mind at all, or were you just kind of running your race?
In a way it was, yeah. I knew turn 1 was a bit tricky in that regard, and after I got, I think, 2 incidents on lap 1 and 2, I decided, okay, I'm just gonna take it like 90% on turn one, not push as much, just to try and save some incident points for the end. And I didn't get any more in the race, so that worked out pretty well.
I would certainly say it did. Well, my friend, we start to look ahead here. We got to talk about championship. I mean, are you hopeful? Obviously, Pure Sims, you want the team to do well, but are you focused a little bit more on driver or team championship at this point?
I'm more focused on the team championship because I know I'm not going to be able to do all the rounds. So the drivers' championship is pretty much out of the question for me. But I'm just going to try to keep pushing and helping the team to get that team championship.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations on this finish here today, Paulo in third. Anybody you'd like to thank?
Well, thank you very much. I'd like to thank, of course, you guys for broadcasting as always. And just like Jesse, I'd like to thank the whole Pure Sims team, everyone in the team, and Jesse himself for coming up with most of the setups we use. So yeah, it's a big work he puts in every week.
Well, that was your third place finisher, Paulo Munoz. And now Joe Pica's caught up with our winner today, Nicholas Rubilar.
Indeed, and Nicholas gave us the one as he came across the line taking victory. But Nick, I think you should have given us the 0. That's how many incidents you had. How did you manage that while being the fastest man in the race?
Well, I had like a lot of laps of practice, and I really focused my T1, because T1 was like the turn that gave all the off tracks for the race, and yeah, I was like lifting just a little bit to travel safely through T1, and then like push like there's no tomorrow.
You were also the highest Lamborghini by far, because the next one down was 25th with Christopher Raditz. How did you find the qualities of this Italian machine here at this German track? Does it feel like it fit pretty well?
Yeah, I really think so, because the car really travels really well through the turns. With the team, we managed to build a setup that brakes perfectly and has a really good traction. So I think we got a pretty strong car for this track.
No doubt about that. It looked like a dominating performance. I mean, was there anything about this race that felt difficult? Because from our perspective, it looked like you were just constantly under control.
For me, every race is difficult, and I really try to set up my pace as fast as possible, because that is where my comfort zone is. Yeah, basically, I try to be comfort from the very first laps and keep pushing.
Well, there you heard it, folks. If you want to be fast, be comfortable. Nick, is there anybody you want to thank for this victory?
Yes, I really want to thank my team, .cl, .cl, as we say in Spanish. My sponsors, Thrustmaster and Next Level Racing, and all the people that cheer me up on the social medias. And for you guys for hosting these championships.
Thank you very much. That was Nicholas Rubilar, who took the win here today, which is going to take us to the end of our interviews and the show. But before we go, we want to give some thank yous to our sponsors, which of course includes ASR. They design and build the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com, as well as RaceLab. It helps you improve your driving skills. Start using it now for free at racelab.app. As well as ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing at thebuttkicker.com. And SIMMSA. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net. And finally, NinjaTrader. Visit ninjatrader.com and get started with a risk-free trading simulator to start tracking your performance. A thank you to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts. We've listed them on your screen. And additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides her wonderful music. Her Bandcamp is there if you want to find more of her work. Thanks to the team today, DJ, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Our social medias are listed on the outlets at the bottom of your screen. And if you'd like to support the channel, check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. Link is in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC, because next time the GT4s are going to Watkins Glen, GT3s will be at Brands Hatch. That'll be July 5th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.